James Garner, 86 years old. Born in 1928 and died in 2014. Edward G. Robinson, 79 years old. Born in 1893 and died in 1973. Harold Lloyd, 77 years old. Born in 1893 and died in 1971. Charles Bronson, 81 years old. Born in 1921 and died in 2003. Robert Shaw, 51 years old. Born in 1927 and died in 1978. Lee Marvin, 63 years old. Born in 1924 and died in 1987. Rod Steiger, 77 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 2002. Jack Lemmon, 76 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 2001. Alec Guinness, 86 years old. Born in 1914 and died in 2000. Walter Matthau, 79 years old. Born in 1920 and died in 2000. Omar Sharif, 83 years old. Born in 1932 and died in 2015. William Holden, 63 years old. Born in 1918 and died in 1981. Sidney Poitier, 94 years old. Born in 1927 and died in 2022. Anthony Quinn, 86 years old. Born in 1915 and died in 2001. Christopher Plummer, 91 years old. Born in 1929 and died in 2021. Orson Welles, 70 years old. Born in 1915 and died in 1985. Ben Jonson, 77 years old. Born in 1918 and died in 1996. Jerry Lewis, 91 years old. Born in 1926 and died in 2017. James Coburn, 74 years old. Born in 1928 and died in 2002. Dean Martin, 78 years old. Born in 1917 and died in 1995. Lon Chaney Jr., 67 years old. Born in 1906 and died in 1973. Frank Sinatra, 82 years old. Born in 1915 and died in 1998. Lon Chaney Sr., 47 years old. Born in 1883 and died in 1930. Peter Sellers, 54 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 1980. Boris Karloff, 81 years old. Born in 1887 and died in 1969. Jackie Cooper, 88 years old. Born in 1922 and died in 2011. Bela Lugosi, 73 years old. Born in 1882 and died in 1956. George Sanders, 65 years old. Born in 1906 and died in 1972. Vincent Price, 82 years old. Born in 1911 and died in 1993. Claude Rains, 77 years old. Born in 1889 and died in 1967. A quick one. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing videos like this. James Cagney, 86 years old. Born in 1899 and died in 1986. Charlie Chaplin, 88 years old. Born in 1889 and died in 1977. Steve McQueen, 50 years old. Born in 1930 and died in 1980. Buster Keaton, 70 years old. Born in 1895 and died in 1966. Robert Mitchum, 79 years old. Born in 1917 and died in 1997. Cary Grant, 82 years old. Born in 1904 and died in 1986. Paul Newman, 83 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 2008. Clark Gable, 59 years old. Born in 1901 and died in 1960. Charlton Heston, 84 years old. Born in 1923 and died in 2008. Humphrey Bogart, 57 years old. Born in 1899 and died in 1957. Richard Burton, 58 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 1984. James Stewart, 89 years old. Born in 1908 and died in 1997. Peter O'Toole, 81 years old. Born in 1932 and died in 2013. Henry Fonda, 77 years old. Born in 1905 and died in 1982. Laurence Olivier, 82 years old. Born in 1907 and died in 1989. John Wayne, 72 years old. Born in 1907 and died in 1979. Errol Flynn, 50 years old. Born in 1909 and died in 1959. Gary Cooper, 60 years old. Born in 1901 and died in 1961. Gene Kelly, 83 years old. Born in 1912 and died in 1996. Spencer Tracy, 67 years old. Born in 1900 and died in 1967. Fred Astaire, 88 years old. Born in 1899 and died in 1987. Marlon Brando, 80 years old. Born in 1924 and died in 2004. Gregory Peck, 87 years old. Born in 1916 and died in 2003. James Dean, 24 years old. Born in 1931 and died in 1955. David Niven, 73 years old. Born in 1910 and died in 1983. Rock Hudson, 59 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 1985. Tony Curtis, 85 years old. Born in 1925 and died in 2010. Burt Lancaster, 80 years old. Born in 1913 and died in 1994. Yul Brynner, 65 years old. Born in 1920 and died in 1985. Kirk Douglas, 103 years old. Born in 1916 and died in 2020. Thank you for watching this video. Kindly like, share, and comment. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel and make sure you never miss a new video. More awesome videos just around the corner, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Peace.